It's Christmas Eve, and 10-year-old Ethan has spent months saving every coin he could find to buy the perfect gift for his hard-working single mom. But when the price unexpectedly rises, his dream of making her smile shatters until he walks in. Jason Statham, the action star himself, steps in to help Ethan in ways he never imagined. What begins as a simple act of kindness transforms into a life-changing journey for Ethan and his mom, proving that even one small act can ripple into something extraordinary. This is a story of hope, love, and the power of believing in others. One Christmas they'll never forget. Where are you listening to this story from? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales that remind us of the power of kindness and hope. Together, we can keep spreading these amazing stories to brighten someone's day. It was a chilly December evening, the kind that made your breath visible in the air. 10-year-old Ethan Adams walked down the cracked sidewalk of his small town, clutching a worn coat tighter against the wind. Ethan lived with his mother, Claire, in a modest apartment on the edge of town. Life hadn't been easy for the Adams family ever since Ethan's father left when he was just a toddler. But Claire had stepped up, working 2 jobs, mornings as a waitress and evenings cleaning offices, to make sure Ethan always had what he needed. Claire was a kind woman with a quick laugh that could light up a room, but behind her smile was a quiet exhaustion. She poured everything into Ethan, making sure he never felt the weight of their struggles. On Christmas, Claire made their tiny apartment feel magical with dollar store lights and handmade decorations. But this year, Ethan had noticed that she seemed more tired than usual. He wanted to do something special to make her smile again. One of those big, warm smiles that made everything feel okay. Ethan had spent months collecting every spare coin he could find, picking up loose change from the couch cushions, saving birthday money, and even skipping the occasional ice cream treat at school. He'd seen his mom pause in front of a store window one evening, her eyes lingering on a beautiful snow globe. Inside the globe was a cozy cabin, surrounded by snow-covered trees, with glitter swirling like magic under the glass dome. Claire had smiled wistfully, saying, "Maybe someday," before walking away. But Ethan had made up his mind. That someday would be this Christmas. He emptied his piggy bank the night before, carefully counting out $18.47 in a mix of coins and crumpled bills. He knew exactly how much the snow globe cost. $18 even. It wasn't much, but it felt like the most important gift he'd ever give. With determination fueling every step, Ethan walked the 2 miles to the store after school, his heart pounding with excitement. When he finally reached the counter and placed the snow globe in front of the cashier, he felt a rush of pride. But the moment was short-lived. "I'm sorry, kid," the cashier said, looking almost apologetic. "The price went up last week. It's $22 now." Ethan's stomach dropped. He emptied his pockets, counting every last coin onto the counter. It still wasn't enough. Desperate, he glanced around the store, trying to think of a solution. But as he turned to leave, holding back tears, he had no idea that his life was about to change in the most extraordinary way. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the cashier's apologetic face as his hopes crumbled. The snow globe sat on the counter, its tiny world of glitter and warmth trapped just out of reach. He had counted on this moment for weeks, envisioning the smile it would bring to his mom's face. But now, the harsh reality of the extra $3.53 felt insurmountable. "I'm really sorry, kid," the cashier repeated. "Maybe you can come back next week?" Ethan's cheeks burned with a mix of embarrassment and frustration. He looked down at the pile of coins and bills on the counter, a pit forming in his stomach. He had done everything he could to make this happen, and it still wasn't enough. He swept the money back into his pockets, gripping the fabric tightly as if to keep the tears from spilling over. "It's okay," he mumbled, forcing his voice to stay steady. Turning toward the door, he tried to walk away quickly, but his small shoulders sagged under the weight of his disappointment. The store's warm lights seemed to mock him as he pushed open the glass door and stepped back into the cold evening air. "Next year," he whispered to himself, blinking back the tears. But deep down, He wasn't sure if there would even be a next year for a gift like this. "Hey, kid," a deep, gravelly voice called from behind him, stopping Ethan in his tracks. He turned slowly, wiping at his eyes with his sleeve. Standing there, just inside the store, was none other than Jason Statham. Yes, the Jason Statham, the action star Ethan had seen in movies with his mom. His rugged face and shaved head were unmistakable, and his presence seemed to command the entire room. The cashier's jaw dropped, and a couple of customers whispered in hushed tones. Jason took a few steps closer, his piercing gaze softening as he looked at Ethan. "What's in the bag, mate?" he asked, motioning to Ethan's bulging coat pocket. Ethan swallowed hard. "Nothing," he said shyly, his voice barely audible. "I was trying to buy something for my mom, but I don't have enough." Jason glanced at the snow globe on the counter and then back at Ethan. "For your mom, huh? Sounds like she's a lucky lady." Ethan's cheeks flushed as he nodded. "She's the best," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "She works really hard. I just wanted to give her something nice for Christmas." Jason's expression shifted, the usual toughness of his movie persona melting away. He crouched down to Ethan's level, his voice lowering to a gentle tone. "Listen, mate, sometimes the best gifts aren't about the price tag. They're about showing someone you care. You've done that just by being here." Ethan looked up at him, surprised by the warmth in his words. Jason straightened up and walked over to the counter. "How much is it?" he asked the cashier. "It's $22, the man stammered, still wide-eyed. Jason pulled out a crisp $50 bill from his wallet and handed it over. "Keep the change," he said firmly. Then he turned to Ethan, holding out the snow globe with a small smile. "Here you go, kid. Merry Christmas." Ethan stared at the globe in disbelief, his fingers trembling as he took it. I don't know what to say." "Thank you," Jason chuckled. "No need for that. Tell me something, though. What's your mom's name?" "Claire," Ethan said softly. Jason nodded, his smile growing. "Well, let's make sure Claire knows this gift is from someone who believes she raised an incredible kid." Ethan's heart swelled with emotion. For the first time in days, he felt a flicker of hope, a warmth that no amount of snow or cold could dampen. As Jason placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, Ethan had no idea that this moment was just the beginning of an adventure he would never forget. Ethan clutched the snow globe tightly in his hands, still marveling at the kindness Jason had shown. He thought that was the end of it, but Jason wasn't done yet. "So, what else does your mom like?" Jason asked, his voice casual yet filled with genuine curiosity. Ethan blinked up at him, caught off guard. I don't know," he said hesitantly. "She likes scarves, I think, and books, but we don't have much time to read." Jason's eyes lit up. "A scarf, huh? That's perfect. Come on." Without waiting for a reply, he motioned for Ethan to follow him through the store. The other shoppers were now fully aware of Jason's presence, whispering and sneaking glances. A few even tried to take pictures, but Jason's focused attention on Ethan made it clear he wasn't looking for a spotlight. They wandered through the aisles, Jason occasionally picking up an item and asking Ethan's opinion. "What do you think about this?" he'd ask, holding up a soft, crimson scarf. Ethan nodded, smiling shyly. "I think she'd like that." "Good choice," Jason said with a grin, tossing the scarf into the shopping basket. Despite the growing crowd and the buzz of whispers following them, Jason remained calm and grounded. He chatted with Ethan about his favorite Christmas memories and even cracked a few jokes that made Ethan laugh for the first time all week. "You know," Jason said as they reached the counter, "it's not every day I get to team up with a kid who's got such a big heart. You're doing good work here, mate." As Jason handed over another bill to pay for the scarf, Ethan looked up at him, his admiration growing by the second. He couldn't believe that someone like Jason Statham had taken time to help him. Not just with money, but with kindness and care. Just as Jason and Ethan were about to leave the store, Jason paused. He turned to Ethan with a thoughtful expression, his usual sharp gaze softening again. "You said your mom works really hard, right?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, She's always tired, but she never complains. She does everything for me. Jason seemed to weigh those words carefully, then crouched down to meet Ethan's eyes once more. What's her dream, Ethan? Has she ever told you what she really wants in life? Ethan hesitated. His mom didn't talk about herself much, always putting Ethan's needs first. But there was one thing she'd mentioned late one night, when she thought he was asleep. She wanted to start her own bakery, Ethan said quietly. She loves baking, but we don't have the money. Jason nodded slowly, a spark of determination flickering in his eyes. A bakery, huh? That's a pretty amazing dream. He stood up and glanced around the store, his face set with resolve. Tell you what, mate, let's make this Christmas one your mom will never forget. But I'm going to need your help. Ethan tilted his head, unsure of what Jason meant. What do you mean? Jason gave him a small, knowing smile. You'll see. Just trust me. Okay? Ethan's chest swelled with a mixture of awe and excitement. He didn't know what Jason had planned, but he could feel that it was going to be something extraordinary. For the first time in a long while, he felt hope, real, overwhelming hope for a brighter future. The next evening, Ethan sat nervously in the small living room of their apartment. He had done his best to keep Jason's promise a secret, though his mom had noticed his fidgeting. Claire, ever attentive, raised an eyebrow. Ethan, what's going on? You've been acting strange since yesterday. You'll see, Ethan said, trying to sound casual but failing miserably. Just trust me. At exactly 6 p.m., there was a knock on the door. Ethan's heart leaped as he ran to open it. Standing there, holding a sleek black folder and a small bouquet of flowers, was Jason Statham. Claire froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. Oh my, you're Jason Statham? Jason smiled warmly, stepping inside. That's what they tell me, he said with a wink. He handed her the bouquet. You must be Claire. Ethan's told me so much about you. Claire glanced at Ethan, who was beaming, and then back at Jason. I don't understand. Why are you here? Jason's expression softened as he pulled the folder from under his arm and held it out to her. Sometimes, life throws people a curveball, but every now and then, it throws something good your way. I think it's time you had something good. Claire opened the folder with trembling hands, her breath catching as she scanned the documents inside. This can't be real. It's very real, Jason said, his voice steady and sincere. It's a grant to help you start your own bakery. There's enough to cover your equipment, your first year's lease, and any permits you might need. Tears welled up in Claire's eyes as she stared at the papers. I don't know what to say. Jason placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Say you'll give it a shot. Ethan told me about your dream, and I think the world needs your bakery as much as it needs moms like you. Claire sank into the nearest chair, the folder still clutched in her hands. Her mind raced as she thought about all the nights she had dreamed of owning a bakery. The smell of fresh bread, the warmth of an oven, the joy of serving people. But those dreams had always felt so far out of reach, buried under the weight of bills and responsibilities. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. What if I fail? Jason crouched down to her level, his tone calm but firm. Claire, you've already done the hardest job there is. Raising an amazing kid on your own. If you can do that, you can do this. And you won't be alone. You've got Ethan and you've got this community. You've got me rooting for you. Ethan, standing nearby, spoke up, his voice small but determined. You always tell me to believe in myself, Mom. Now it's your turn. Claire looked at her son, her heart swelling with pride and love. She reached out and pulled him into a hug, tears streaming down her face. I don't deserve this, she murmured, her voice cracking. Jason shook his head, his expression unwavering. You do, Claire. Trust me, you do. The world needs more people who work hard, care deeply, and dream big. This is your time. For the first time in years, Claire felt a flicker of hope. Real, tangible hope. She smiled through her tears, holding Ethan close. I'll try, she said, her voice shaky but resolute. I'll really try. Jason grinned and stood up. That's all I needed to hear. Now, let's make this Christmas one to remember. The days following Jason's visit were a whirlwind for Claire and Ethan. True to his word, Jason had connected Claire with a business mentor and helped her set up the foundation for her bakery. Claire found herself juggling multiple roles, attending planning meetings, designing a menu, and navigating the technicalities of starting a business, all while maintaining her regular jobs and caring for Ethan. It wasn't easy. There were nights when she sat at the kitchen table, her head in her hands, wondering if she had taken on too much. But every time doubt crept in, her gaze would fall on the snow globe sitting proudly on the shelf. Its swirling glitter seemed to whisper a quiet reassurance. She could do this. Ethan became her biggest cheerleader, eagerly pitching in wherever he could. I can help you bake, Mom, he'd say, rolling up his sleeves with a determination that mirrored hers. Their apartment was soon filled with the comforting aroma of practice recipes. Fluffy croissants, gooey cinnamon rolls, and the rich scent of freshly baked bread. Each step forward felt like a triumph, a testament to the belief Jason had sparked in her. For Claire, the snow globe wasn't just a gift. It was a symbol of possibility, a reminder that kindness and hope could transform even the hardest moments into something beautiful. As Christmas approached, Claire and Ethan were content with their simple plans. A quiet evening together, a few small gifts under their well-worn tree, and the warmth of each other's company. But on Christmas Eve, a knock at the door changed everything. Ethan opened it to find a delivery driver holding a large, beautifully wrapped box. "Delivery for Claire Adams," the man said with a smile, handing it over. Claire's brow furrowed in confusion as she carefully opened the package. Inside was an array of high-quality baking tools, a stand mixer, a set of precision measuring cups, and a sleek set of chef's knives. Nestled among them was a handwritten note on crisp, white stationery. "Claire, every great baker needs the right tools. These are yours. I believe in you. Merry Christmas, Jason." Tears sprang to Claire's eyes as she traced the words with her fingers. She hadn't seen Jason since his visit, but his support had continued to ripple through her life. The tools weren't just practical. They were a symbol of someone believing in her dream, even when she doubted herself. Ethan grinned as he helped her unpack the box, his excitement infectious. "This is so cool, Mom. You're going to be amazing." Claire laughed through her tears, pulling him into a tight hug. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, Ethan. You're my inspiration." That night, as they sat by the glow of their little Christmas tree, Claire felt something she hadn't in years. A quiet, steadfast confidence. The kindness Jason had shown her wasn't just about the gifts or the opportunities. It was about reminding her of her own strength and the potential that had always been within her. With each twinkle of the tree's lights and each sparkle of the snow globe on the shelf, Claire felt hope rekindled. This was only the beginning. 2 years later, the transformation in Claire's life was nothing short of extraordinary. Her bakery, Claire's Corner, had become a beloved staple in the community. From the first flaky croissant to the softest loaf of sourdough, every item carried her love and dedication. Customers came not just for the food but for the warmth Claire exuded, creating a space that felt like home. Ethan, now a teenager, often helped at the bakery after school. Watching his mom thrive filled him with a pride he could barely put into words. He had seen her struggle for so long, and now he witnessed her standing tall, confident, and happy. "You did it, Mom," he said one evening as they closed up the shop. "I always knew you would." Claire ruffled his hair, her smile radiant. "We did it, Ethan. I couldn't have done any of this without you, or without the kindness of a stranger who believed in us." As Claire balanced running her bakery with being the amazing mom Ethan had always known her to be, she made sure to pay that kindness forward. She hired locals who needed a second chance, donated baked goods to shelters, and even started a small baking class for kids in the community. Jason's gift hadn't just transformed her life, it had given her the chance to help others. Every Christmas, Claire and Ethan made a special tradition of placing the snow globe at the top of their decorated tree. To them, it wasn't just an ornament. It was a beacon of hope, a reminder of how far they had come. One snowy December evening, as they sat together by the fireplace, Ethan picked up the snow globe and gave it a gentle shake. The glitter swirled inside, casting shimmering patterns on the walls. "Do you think Jason knows how much he changed our lives?" Ethan asked, his voice thoughtful. Claire smiled softly, her gaze distant but warm. "I think he does, Ethan. That's the thing about kindness. It has a way of spreading far beyond what we can see. One act can ripple out and change everything." Ethan nodded, turning the snow globe in his hands. "Do you think we'll ever see him again?" "Maybe," Claire said with a hopeful shrug. "But whether we do or not, he's a part of our story now. And because of him, we get to write the rest of it." Years later, as Claire stood in her bustling bakery, watching families come and go with warm loaves and sweet treats, she often thought about that snowy night. She thought about the way Jason had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself, about the way Ethan's determination had sparked the whole chain of events, and about how much joy and hope had blossomed from one simple snow globe. Every Christmas, as the snow globe took its place atop their tree, it reminded them of the extraordinary power of kindness and the endless possibilities that could follow.